Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. This is Kate Stock speaking from the 10YFP Secretariat. Thank you very much for joining. We were expecting a few others to join, but I think it's good to get started. In any case, we're recording this webinar, so it will be made available afterwards to those who weren't able to join. So after this welcome, I would just like to also hand over to Christophe Lalande, who is representing UN Habitat as co-chair of the InterAgency Coordination Group for the 10-year framework of programs. Christophe, I'm going to unmute you so you can speak. Okay, you're unmuted.
I think it's working. Hi, Katie.
Yes,
hi, colleagues.
You
can hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, so good afternoon from Nairobi. Here it's a little bit like crazy because you have your assembly, but also we have our senior management retreat. So it's a very good way to finish the day. Thanks for organizing the webinar, and we are very pleased to co-chair this presentation. This reporting exercise is also very, very important. I think that, as we said in previous meetings, it will be a great opportunity to do a mapping of all our existing activities, outputs that are like within the different sub-programs, but also like maybe beyond, and identifying like other activities where we could like potentially explore like other areas for partnership between us. At UN Habitat, what is particularly interesting for us will be to see, in addition to SDG 12, to see how this reporting could also contribute to the HLPF for the 11.C and the work that we are doing with partners on the building materials. So obviously, like the sub-program and sustainable buildings is a critical like component of our work, working on green housing, sustainable housing. But I think that beyond that, we can like see many bridges with other programs. And I mean, for us, it will be very important to see how to make the best of this report together. So I give it back to you, Katie. I think that you are starting the presentation.
Indeed, thank you very much, Christophe. So just to quickly go through the agenda items, I managed to change the slide. We're actually going to start with a round of introductions, so we just know from each other who is on the webinar. So I'm going to unmute you one by one so that you can introduce yourself. So Amrita, I'm starting with you.
Hi everyone, I'm Amrita Noel from UNOPS, the Partnerships Liaison Officer.
Okay. And Dirk, you're unmuted. Hello Dirk, can you hear me? Okay. For some reason we cannot hear Dirk, but Dirk is representing UNWTO, which is leading the Sustainable Tourism Program of the 10YFP. Dirk, feel free to put something in chat. We can't hear you right now. Fatima?
Yes, hello. This is Fatima Hashim from FAO, and I'm representing FAO, who is leading or co-leading 4 core initiatives.
Okay, thank you very much, Fatima. I'm going to go back to Dirk and just see now if the sound is working. Disconnect. Okay, so we'll come back if Dirk manages to reconnect, or if others join, we'll come back to introductions. So the other, he's reconnected. Hello, Dirk. Can you hear me? Okay, Dirk, we still can't hear you, so I'm going to mute you again. So just to go through the other agenda items, we'll just go through briefly what it means by the 10YFP midterm review and what the relevance is for the high-level political forum next year, which we abbreviate as HLPF. And then we're going to go through the 10YFP indicators of success framework, which is the framework for the reporting. And then we'll have a chance for some discussion through questions and answers. So you'll have a chance to ask questions. And we don't foresee it taking more than an hour in total. So to finish by 4 Paris time. So just going to the next slide. Okay. So the midterm review of the 10-year framework of programs is based on 4 key pillars. The first one that you can see, 10YFP progress from 2012 to 2017. This is really based on the reporting of the 10YFP indicator framework. So using the reporting, which helps to identify and replicate and scale up best practices, to assess and improve performance, which also helps for planning of activities, prioritization, allocation of funds, and it also helps for demonstrating progress and accountability towards actors and donors. And it helps for communicating results to the wider public, which of course culminates in mobilizing political and financial support. So these are the key, let's say, important elements that why it's important to be doing reporting and how it's fitting into communicating on our progress on the key milestones of the 10YFP. The other pillar of the midterm review is an independent external review. So an outside review looking at key elements of the 10YFP. As you can see, the 4 different bullet points there, I don't think it's worth for me to go into detail. It's a forward-looking review, so really seeing how what the analysis from the last 5 years can help to inform the development for the strategy of the next 5 years. So here you see the evaluation is based on operational effectiveness, the accomplishment of objectives, and then there's a survey which has gone to all 10YFP actors. So for members of the coordination group, you will have received this survey. Some people completed it also. And with that, it's informing the development for the next 5-year strategy, which is the 3rd pillar. And for this, there's a strategy task force, which was launched on the 1st of November. And the task force representative for the coordination group is actually Christophe Lalande, who is, as UN Habitat is co-chair, representing the group, and as such is, let's say, coordinating your inputs to the development of the new strategy. So that's your focal point for how you can put forward your views of what you want to see in the strategy for the next 5 years. So we encourage you to be as constructive and thoughtful as possible in that, and that's your chance also for inputs. And the development of the strategy will go through until March 2018, where it will be finalized. Then the 4th pillar, it's really about disseminating and visibility and showcasing. So this 10YFP midterm review is coinciding with the review of SDG 12 at the high-level political forum, which is a real opportunity in the sense that HLPF is the central platform for following up on the Agenda 2030. 10YFP, which is included as target 1 of SDG 12, but also is the mechanism for the implementation of SDG 12 is sustainable consumption and production. So elements that have fed into this review and the strategy and the reporting will be communicated in the HLPF report. So the 10YFP report, which is issued to the HLPF, but also there's opportunity for other communication products. So now I'm sort of moving into the next slide. In terms of what this means for the InterAgency coordination group. So it allows, as Christophe was saying, it allows capturing different elements of work that you're all doing in your agencies relating to sustainable consumption and production, which also helps to enhance the coordination and collaboration within the group. So the reporting has a dual benefit for this group, which is not only the visibility element for the dissemination, but also through capturing this information, we are really making a really good step in terms of helping you have a visual of what each other is doing, so which will allow you to better coordinate and collaborate with each other. And then also, tracking the achievements of the different agencies relating to SCP and demonstrating your contribution. So it's this, dual benefit for the group. And then there's the opportunity of featuring different communication products for HLPF 2018. And I think we'd all agree that there's a good benefit in demonstrating to donors and other stakeholders that UN agencies can work together and coordinate together in terms of joint delivery and collaboration. And many of these opportunities were also, let's say, reinforced in the recent report from the Secretary General on repositioning the UN to deliver on the Agenda 2030. And the opportunity for enhanced collaboration between UN agencies, especially for SDG 12. So with that, I'm going to pass to the next slide, which goes more into the reporting element, and then we'll come back to HLPF elements and questions and answers. Thanks. I'm also going to introduce our consultant working on indicators and reporting.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Katie. This is Sophie Clausen. I'm the Monitoring and Reporting Analyst with the 10YFP Secretariat. So today I'm going to take you through, as Katie mentioned, the Indicators of Success framework, which is basically the monitoring and reporting framework that has been set up for the 10YFP actors. Then I'm going to also quickly take you through the technical side of how do you report, and I'm going to keep this fairly short so that we have time at the end for your questions and answers, which to us is actually the most important part of this meeting today, is to understand what kind of questions you have in relation to your specific work and how you report these things within the framework. So I'm going to take you quickly through the framework itself. So the 10YFP Indicators of Success is a framework that aims to guide and measure in a participatory way the collective impact and the key accomplishments and progress towards the global shift to SCP. Sorry, I just need to move something out of the way on my screen here so I can see. There we go. Basically, the 10YFP Indicators of Success framework aims to help us by understanding what all of the partners in the 10YFP network, including the Interagency Coordination Group, are doing on SCP, and mapping that out. We aim to use the framework to assess and improve performance, as Katie mentioned, and to report and demonstrate progress, both on a global level to actors in New York at HLPF, but also to the wider public. The framework itself is structured around a limited and non-exhaustive set of aggregated indicators. And I'm going to go through them in a bit because that determines what kind of activities you can report through the framework. It's based on associated existing methodology. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're connecting it very tightly to the Sustainable Development Goals. So as Christoph was mentioning before, they were interested in seeing how we could connect this directly to some of the work that's being done for SDG 11, I think you said 11C. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. The process and the tools I'm going to go through in terms of the deadlines and the reporting process itself, and how do you actually report through our online system. So the indicators themselves. So the indicators is the structure of the framework. That's what the framework is built around. That's what we understand when we say reporting within the 10YFP. Basically what it is a set of output and outcome indicators and impact indicators. So for your specific reporting, as partners of the 10YFP and as part of the IACG, you'll be reporting on output level activities and outcome level activities. The impact level this year is a newly developed impact framework with the International Resource Panel and with the Life Cycle Initiative here at UN Environment in Paris. And what we're trying to do this year is simply map activities to their potential contributions toward different areas of impact. So this year we're not asking for specific GHG emission numbers or, biodiversity conservation schemes or anything. Well, the schemes you can report under your outcomes and outputs, but specific numbers essentially in the sense of how you're reaching these impacts, but more of a tracking exercise as to what is your activities contributing to potentially. For the output level, you have SCP projects, for instance, you have training for SCP. So as you can see in the wording, these are basically activities that you are doing within your organizations. So any projects that you have that contributes towards the shift to SCP, any trainings you've done that are relevant to SCP, whether that's from the perspective of sustainable buildings or from tourism or from agricultural production, those can be reported here. There's also, as you can see, communication and outreach. There's production of knowledge and technical knowledge resources and technical tools. So these are all things that you can report. As well, if you look at the outcome level, these are also activities. So you can report any policy instruments, whether that's organizational policies or policies that you've helped implement in countries. You can report SCP monitoring and reporting frameworks or monitoring reporting systems. So for instance, as Christoph mentioned, for sustainable buildings and construction, this could be certification schemes, for instance. You can report changes in practice. So again, from the perspective of sustainable buildings and construction, but I think for many of you as well, it could be something like standards, so building standards and building codes. You can report high-level commitments. So if you have any commitments or pledges within your organizations that would be relevant to sustainable consumption and production, you can report this. And you can report coordination mechanisms. So similar to you being a part of the IACG. So the IACG of 10YFP InterAgency Coordination Group is in itself a coordination mechanism, but you may be part of other similar networks or coordination mechanisms that you're welcome to report as well. I'm going to show you this, how that looks inside the tool, because now I'm talking about it and we can talk about it in the Q&A session as well. But sometimes it's easier when you see it in actual practice. As mentioned before, we've really tried to link this to the SDG. As I said, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're trying to connect the dots. We're trying to understand how do we, as partners of the 10YFP, as a network, come together and with our activities and with our, with replicating and scaling up activities and with building on existing knowledge, how do we contribute to the SDGs? So this mapping here is based specifically on the impact indicators, but relates actually to the entire framework, as the impact indicators is the direct outcome or the longer term outcome. I just wanted to show this quickly. We can go in more detail with it if you have any questions at the end. But basically, we cover almost all of the SDGs with our framework. The only two that are actually not covered in this picture is 17, which is partnerships, which obviously 10YFP is a partnership. And it's number one, which is poverty reduction, which is the ultimate goal of all activities within the UN system as well. So, or one of the ultimate goals, obviously. So just to show you quickly, in 2016, we did a pilot reporting based on these indicators. So this was done through an Excel sheet. It was very preliminary. It was trying to understand how does this framework work and how can we use it in reality and actually use it to demonstrate progress. And I'm just going to show you quickly some of the things that came out of that. For the more formal report to the HLPF, which is the reporting requirement, annual reporting requirement of the 10YFP, we did a few different tables and graphics that helped us show what is being done globally within the network at an aggregated level towards the shift to SCP. And it gave us a broader understanding of where is the network and where are there strong activities already, and where can we put more focus on developing more support at country level as well. For more communication products, as Katie also mentioned, there's also an opportunity through reporting to increase your visibility and have it shown in as best case examples, or best practice examples, innovations, et cetera, through the communication products of the 10YFP. So for instance, this year we're revamping the annual report. So last year we had a short progress report, progress brief. You might have seen this already. This was based on the pilot reporting. This year, we're doing a full annual report with more space for best practices and innovations and good stories. But this is just to show a little bit of, even just based on the pilot, what we could do with some of the data that we received and what kind of overview it brings. So your reporting, and I'm going to tailor this a little bit also to the ISCG, because you are a specific special entity within the 10YFP. Some of you are already part of the 10YFP program. So I know we have FAO, UN WTO, and UN Habitat here. And also UNOPS actually, so all of the ones that I've seen connect so far are actually already part of the programs, which means that it makes it very easy for you to report as part of your programs. It means that you have a direct focal point that you can contact, and it means that you basically are able to report anything that provides, that how do you say, that adds to your program and activities that contribute to the objectives of your programs. But aside from that, because you're part of the interagency coordination group, what we ask is actually, if possible, for you to report everything that you're doing within your organization towards sustainable consumption and production, because as Katie was saying, this is really also an exercise for this group in particular to try to coordinate the UN efforts better and try to understand better how can we build on each other's initiatives, where do we have overlapping capacities that we can build upon and create greater projects within the 10YFP structures and really build on the existing programs and the existing structures that are here, and understand where we can support each other. So aside from being a part of your programs and reporting towards the objectives of your programs, we ask you to please also consider if there are other activities within your organization that could be relevant. I'm just going to reiterate a little bit what Katie said before. Basically, your reporting contributes to influencing SCP approaches and practices. So by reporting your approaches, your activities, your practices, you help drive change within sustainable consumption and production, because we're able to tell the good stories and we're able to bring that also to country level. It helps facilitate, your reporting helps facilitate replication and scaling of best practices, as I mentioned, improve performance, and then demonstrate progress and show accountability, especially at the HLPF next year, which, let me just go to the next slide here, which in 2018, HLPF, and you probably already know this, is focused specifically on the review of a certain set of SDGs, and within that is SDG 12, which is specifically on sustainable consumption and production. So this year in particular, the 10YFP Secretariat and the 10YFP programs are really putting all the efforts into showcasing what has been done at a global level towards SCP at HLPF 2018. It's the most underfunded SDG right now, so we're really hoping that by capturing all of this and all the good things that are being done, we can present something at HLPF that will help mobilize financial and political support further. As Katie also mentioned, she went through the midterm process, and the reporting this year, as you could see, was one of the 4 pillars, and really helps inform the midterm review and the strategy of the 10YFP moving forward. So to help us in the 10YFP Secretariat and to help the programs in further improving over the next 5 years, your inputs to the reporting is also essential. Reporting was launched on October 17th this year, and it's going to close on the 15th of January 2018. After that, there's going to be a quality assurance process. So depending on if you're part of a program or not, this process will either be done by your program coordination desk or it will be done by the Secretariat. And that process after the 15th of January is basically just to ensure that everything is tagged according to the program's priorities and that the data is sufficient enough to sufficiently and effectively showcase your progress. If they have any changes that they want to do to any of your submissions, they will get in contact with you directly. So this is just to say that it doesn't go straight into anything unless it's been verified by your programs, basically, or by the Secretariat. I'm going to go through now the online tool and just show you quickly. So I'm just going to go out of the reporting system here, and then we'll do a Q&A afterwards. But let me just quickly see if I can open here. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the SCP Clearinghouse. But the SCP Clearinghouse is basically the global database for all initiatives and knowledge resources and technical tools like apps and so on, that helps towards the shift on SCP, whether that's within, as I mentioned before, whether that's within buildings and construction or agricultural practices or tourism or public procurement. The programs are featured in here. The databases have hundreds of activities already that are happening globally. So this is basically the face of SCP. This is the public view into what is happening on SCP. And then when you go to the SCP Clearinghouse, you can create an account by clicking on My SCP. And when you create an account, you'll get this My SCP page, which is basically your backend page. And all of these things in the backend is how you contribute to SCP. So who are the contacts you have within the clearinghouse? What initiatives have you submitted? What kind of resources have you submitted? And then you see here now what we have is the 10YFP reporting button. And the 10YFP reporting button is a non-public area. It's an area just for you and for the 10YFP program, which means everything that you report on your activities doesn't in itself become public. It only becomes public once we have analyzed and aggregated the data. So non-aggregated data won't become public unless it's identified as best practices, and in that case we would get in touch with you to get more information, obviously, and get your buy-in to use it as a best practice example. So if you try to click on 10YFP reporting, and thank you to Michael from the SFS program for letting me use his account over and over again for this. So I clicked on 10YFP reporting, and what you see here is Michael has uploaded a bunch of initiatives to the SCP Clearinghouse. And initiatives, as I mentioned before, there's a public side of the 10YFP, of the SCP Clearinghouse. And the initiatives are public, but whatever he reports under doesn't become public directly. So here you can see all the initiatives he's uploaded. So he's uploaded quite a few because he's helped some partners out. I know some of you have already can see this as well if you log into your SCP Clearinghouse, into your My SCP. You'll be able to see the same kind of view. Some of you will need to be added as authors to already uploaded initiatives. I know with UN Habitat, for instance, we're helping in doing that right now. When you go to this page and you want to report, so as we talked about before, you can report SCP projects, you can report SCP trainings, you can report changes in practice, so like standards and building codes. You can report certifications, so that would be monitoring and reporting. You can report communication material that you've done over the years, or side events that you've done. You can report knowledge resources, so for instance, technical reports or guidelines that you've done over the year. Apps, these sort of things. So for instance, let's say that I want to report something on, I've done a training under the national program to reduce food loss and waste. I simply click report an activity and it will take me to the reporting page. So for some of you, before I go into what this looks like in detail, for some of you, thank you, Katie, for letting me borrow your account. For some of you, you will not see these initiatives already, because Katie, being a part of the Secretariat, hasn't uploaded any initiatives. You have the option to upload an initiative. As I said, initiative is the public side. It's more your umbrella projects, and you're very welcome to upload these. We encourage you to do so because it increases your visibility. But it's completely up to you, because you can also report activities that are not related to an uploaded public initiative. So that's also a possibility. I just wanted to show you this because some will have the view that I showed before, similar to Michael, and for some it will look like this instead. So just don't panic if you see that. You just have more options to begin with. But I clicked on here, I wanted to report a training under the National Program to Reduce Food Loss and Waste. So I clicked on report an activity. This takes me to this page here. So first there's an introductory text that tells you a little bit similar to what we've been talking about today about reporting. There's a few tips to help you get started. So that means links to all of our training material. We have a 6-minute short introductory video that's going to tell you the step-by-step as I'm going through now. There's a step-by-step guide, which is basically screenshot guide for you. And then there's an online training session similar to the one we're doing now. So that's a full 45-minute session. We ask you to read this in the beginning just so you know what kind of material is available to you in case you need any help. The first question is about yourself. So we want to know who is the organization that you're a part of, what kind of affiliation do you have to the 10YFP. So for instance, for you, it would be 10YFP InterAgency Coordination Group. For some of you, they're also a part of the program if you're reporting activities under a specific program. So for instance, with UNOPS, that could be for Sustainable Public Procurement Program. You would indicate whether you're a partner of the program, a MAC member, or a lead and a co-lead. So for instance, here now, let's say InterAgency Coordination Group because we're on this call now. As you can see, some of the information I haven't had to put in at all. I haven't written that. That is the system that automatically puts that in. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible for you. So you don't have to put in your email 15 million times. It does that for you. I just want to show you before I click next here in the bottom, all the time in the bottom, you'll be able to see easy access to your step-by-step guide and easy access to a need help section. And the need help section basically has emails to all of the program focal points for reporting, and it also has my email address, so you can contact me if you need any support as well. And there's also the full methodology. So the methodology I went quickly through before, there's a full 60-page document on that as well. So here, tell us about yourself. We put in this information. The system had pre-filled some for us. We only had to say what group we were part of. So that was the IACG. We click next. And then we just scroll up a little bit here. There we go. So as I mentioned before, I'm reporting, in this case, a training for the National Program to Reduce Food Loss and Waste. So this was already pre-filled for me as well. I didn't write this. This was the system brought this in for me because I said report an activity under this initiative. And I said a training. So let me click training. So when I click training here, as you can see, when I hover over, there's some description text. And then when you click them, you get this box down here that has the full explanation for you. And if you click another one, the box will change with that kind of information for that specific type of activity. So I go down, it asks for my activity title. It will ask for the activity in a 10YFP context. So here also it's a little bit different as you're part of the IACG. So if you're reporting an activity that supports directly or contributes directly to the objectives of your program, so for instance, that could be sustainable food systems for FAO, I would click here because my training, for instance, in this case was specifically for an affiliated project of the Sustainable Food Systems program. But you can also, as I mentioned earlier, we really would urge you in the IACG to report anything that you're doing in your organization in the shift towards SCP. So not just related to the program that you may or may not be a part of, but also in general. And for that, you just click SCP General instead. Then you're asked about the relevance to other programs. So is the activity relevant to any of the other 10YFP programs, for instance? Does it also relate to consumer information? Then we could click that here and describe that a little bit further. Activity attribution. So if you click that it is a part of one of the programs up here, we ask you to indicate whether that's a core activity, an affiliated activity, or other. So this is a new thing that is being introduced as part of the portfolios in the programs. So you may not know at this stage, your program may not have reached the stage where they have completely decided which are core and affiliated activities, and you're very welcome to just click other in this case. Through the quality assurance process that I mentioned earlier, your program will go through especially this tagging and make sure that they feel it represents the program correctly. For SCP General, you simply click affiliated or other. Core in this case for SCP General is secretariat activities. So we go further down and we have activity specific details. So as you saw before, I chose training. So in this case, it's about the specific training. How many days was it? What kind of participants were it? And then there's an implementation section that's about who led the implementation and who did you collaborate with. So who was a part of this implementation process. There's a part on funding and budget. It's very important to remember that funding and budget is always an optional question. It's only if you're comfortable with disclosing that information. Scope and location is about what kind of sectors, what kind of countries and what kind of level did you implement this activity at. And the activity impact. So we mentioned this earlier that this year it's a simple tagging exercise. So you just say, okay, well, my activity, this training was specifically on food waste, so it should help with waste reduction and then sustainable land use, for instance. And then you have the opportunity to provide more indication about how the impacts are being measured or any measurements that you may have done in relation to this activity. You have the opportunity to provide it, but it's an optional area. The final thing that you have to answer about the activity is the narrative report. So I want to really emphasize that this is where you have the opportunity to stand out and highlight your activities as innovations or best practice or something that you want to highlight in communication material. So focusing a little bit more on making sure that you feel like you cover the areas that are important for your activity in this section is quite important as well. You can also link to a website. So if you already have a website on the app, for instance, or on if you've recorded the training, and you can link to it right here. You can attach photos or you can attach documents as well. So when you filled this out for your training, you simply go and click submit at the end, and it submits it and sends it to us. And you'll get a thank you screen that will tell you what you reported on, and you will receive then a confirmation email. The confirmation email includes a little bit more information about the upcoming process with the quality assurance. And then it has an edit link. That means basically until the 15th of January, you can go back and edit your submissions. So if there's anything here that you feel you can't answer yet, or you're unsure about, or you want to check with any of your colleagues, put in preliminary information, and then you simply go back through the edit link in your confirmation email and edit the submission. You can also contact us if for any reason you lose the edit link, then we can find that for you. I think that's it for the technical side. So basically it's quite straightforward. You go to your MySCP, you click on your reporting. Let me just show you from the beginning here. You go to your MySCP. The internet here is very slow. You click on your 10YFP reporting button. It takes you to your reporting setting, and depending on whether you have public initiatives uploaded or not, it will look a little bit different. But basically, the green buttons on that page, it's very slow now. The green buttons on that page, whether it's the report and activity not related to an uploaded initiatives, or if it's the report and activity button that you saw before that was featured directly, why is it so slow? That was featured directly under your uploaded initiatives. That will take you directly to the reporting site, where you then choose the type of activities that you've done over the year. So each activity is one submission, but as I mentioned before, the generic information is already filled out for you. So we're talking, a max of 20 questions for each type of activity, and we really have tried to do this as user-friendly for you as possible. No Excel sheets, straight online. You don't have to worry about, documents disappearing or anything. And we're always here to support. My position currently with the 10YFP Secretariat over the next month is completely as a support function to you. So feel free to, Katie will send my information in a follow-up email. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions for reporting. And as I mentioned, your coordination desk, for the ones of you that are part of the programs, your coordination desk already have an assigned focal point that has been trained extensively in this, and they can help you as well throughout this process. So I think now we'll go into Q&A session. So if anybody has any questions, whether that's to the beginning with Katie's introduction, or to the indicators themselves and the framework, or to the technical side of reporting, feel free to raise your hand or chat in your question.
you very much, Sophie. So now I'm going to hand it to you. I see already, Fatima, you have a hand raised. So I'm going to unmute you in a second. I just wanted to allow there's been an additional person that joined. So Maya, I just wanted to allow you to introduce yourself. I'm unmuting you.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry I joined a little bit late, but I think I only missed, maybe I missed quite a substantive part. Maybe I can touch base with Katie afterwards to update me on that. I work at UNITAR, which stands for the UN Institute for Training and Research, and we have had several regional trainings on ACP specifically, but also within our department and within UNITAR in general, we have, I think, a number of trainings, a number of initiatives that actually contribute also to ICP. So yeah, it would be interesting actually to understand also how to actually decide which ones to report and to include in the reporting. Yeah, that was one of a question, I guess, that I had. Otherwise, if you have any questions to what I do, also let me know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Maya. Maybe we can already address your question before we move back to Fatima.
Yes, thank you, Maya, for that question as well. I think what is really important here is that you also see it for an opportunity to not only showcase your progress towards and support towards the shift to SCP, especially at national level as well, but also organizational levels, but also as a part of the interagency coordination groups in terms of helping to coordinate and scale up activities within the UN system on sustainable consumption and production. So I would, in terms of prioritizing the activities or the trainings that you want to report, I would suggest the ones that you feel are the best practices or the most innovative trainings that you've had over the year. If you have the capacity and the time, I would definitely urge you to report everything that you find relevant. But if you do have to prioritize, I think from your side as well, in terms of coordination and scaling up and visibility, I would suggest that you take the ones that you feel are most replicable or most relevant as best practice examples on sustainable consumption and production. I hope that helps clarify. Otherwise, do let me know.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, this is helpful, and I think that maybe I will touch base afterwards to ask more specific questions. And actually, how far back? Just 1 year, or everything that we haven't reported before?
So everything basically back to 2012. So okay. 2012 up until now. This year, especially because this is the first time we have the online reporting, so we're really this year building the database. So anything that you have going back to 2012 that you think is relevant, please.
I just wanted to also compliment.
Thank you.
Because for you, as you're not, UNITAR is currently not a member of any specific program, and so you haven't received. This is, I think, your first exposure actually to the talk, the reporting information. We can definitely support you in with more guidance on how you can prioritize in terms of your reporting, so you don't see it as something overwhelming. And if you want to, we can have a follow-up discussion on that. Okay,
Thanks. No, it seems okay. It seems quite straightforward. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Maya. Fatima, you're unmuted now. Your hand is still raised. I assume you have a question or a comment?
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, my question is about the deadline, because, thank you first for a very clear presentation, and it was very helpful, and the problem is that we were thinking of reporting on our core initiatives in the SFS, but now with Sophie opening the scope for reporting on everything that the organization does, and since 2012, I think we will be having a challenge to meet the deadline. I'm not promising that I will be able to get information about activities and outputs from other colleagues, but as you know, FAO is working in different departments on sustainable production, let's say less consumption for the moment, but there would be a lot to report on. But that it's not possible to do within the deadline. So if we want to stick to reporting on the core initiatives under the SFS, we will be able to meet the deadline. But if it's open to more than that, then I think we will be facing a big challenge, because I don't know how we can do that with FAO closing over the Christmas period for 5 working days. It would be practically impossible. So any thoughts about the deadline with this requirement, or perhaps advice to enlarge the scope of reporting?
Thank you, Fatima. That's a really good point, actually. So being a part of one of the 10YFP programs, what I would really urge you to do is prioritize, as you say as well, the core and affiliated initiatives that you're connected to within the SFS program. Especially for this year, as I said, we're building the database up. So this year does have a little bit more intensity in terms of reporting. In terms of your other activities, I wanted to let you know that even though we have this deadline of the 15th of January, because we now have an online system, the online system will actually remain open continuously. It will be live continuously even after the 15th of January, which means that even if you don't have time to report all of the activities not a part of the SFS program this year, if you keep reporting it throughout the system, even after the 15th of January, it will show up in the report to HLPF, not in 2018, but in 2019, and be a part of that. And in the communication material for the next year.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, I have two more questions actually that came to mind. So I was wondering how the data, and I'm sorry if I missed that part in the beginning, how the data is going to be used afterwards, for what sort of reports, for whom, except for the high level HLPF, was it? Thanks. So except for that, how is it going to be used? Do you have any examples of reports or communication materials that you have developed, so that we know just in our organization how this information is going afterwards to be used? And then a second question, in a little bit of different direction. So we have impact sometimes generated from the courses that we try to collect. As a training institute, we try to collect information on all the Kirkpatrick levels. So a training event can be evaluated on several levels, and the level 3 and 4, we try to actually look at impact from the training and behavioral change from the training. So we send around follow-up surveys, and we try to speak actually and follow up with participants in the training on initiatives that they afterwards implemented, or changes in behavior that they observed after taking the course. So are those things that we can actually report separately, or is that kind of part of the initiative? Because sometimes that really generates afterwards new projects and new activities. The course leads to the generation of new projects and new activities, but obviously those are not projects or activities that UNITAR specifically did.
Thank you,
right.
Maya.
So any thoughts on that?
Thank you. So first of all, for what your reporting contributes to and how it's used afterwards. So as I've mentioned previously, and Katie went through this in the beginning, and that you missed, basically the reporting that you use or that you input will be used at an aggregated level for the HLPF report, but also for other communication materials. So whether that being as tables or as graphs or as best practice and innovative solutions and examples. In the case that we use any of the information for best practice examples or bigger highlights, whether that's online on the SCPA Clearinghouse or whether that's through the new 10YFP annual report. As soon as it becomes more case study based and best practices, we'll get in touch with you, but we'll use the data as the basis for deciding on what and help the programs in deciding what should be best practice examples. But to give you an example of this is, as mentioned earlier also, last year we did a pilot reporting. This is the first year that we do a full reporting. So last year, based on just the pilot reporting, we were able to do a short progress brief, about 15, 20 pages, that went out to a lot of donors and partners, potential stakeholders and current stakeholders, that highlighted the progress within the different programs, but also across SCP in general. In 2018, because we're going to have a larger data set and we're going to have more information this year, what we're aiming to do is a full annual report, which means it's a lot bigger of a document, with more space for best practice examples, more space to highlight specific activities and specific partners as well. So that was just some of the examples, and feel free to ask if you want to have more examples in that. I think what is important also to mention again is really a high level political forum for sustainable development. So HLPF in 2018 has a specific focus on SDG 12, which is the SDG on sustainable consumption and production. So this year in particular, this is your opportunity to also highlight the progress of the UN, the progress of your organization in particular, and the progress that your activities has made. So as you mentioned, some of the impacts that you've had at HLPF in next summer. In terms of your other questions, so reporting the impacts, let me just go quickly back to the tool itself, just to show you where this happened. So the impacts, let me show you actually first here. So the impact level of the framework that we talked about earlier, as you can see here, is divided into 3 areas. So we have resource efficiency, environmental impact, and human well-being. Each of those have different types of indicators underneath them that we have identified with the International Resource Panel and with lifecycle initiatives, and that will be under review after next year as well, and will be in continuous development with those actors and with others to improve. But this is the pilot set of impact indicators for this year. Inside the tool, the way that it looks like is that if you report, for instance, a training from UNITAR that has had a specific contribution in terms of impacts, once you scroll down and you get to the bottom here, you'll see activity impact. So that specific training may have contributed to specific types of impacts. You can put that here according to the indicators that I showed you, impact indicators I showed you before. You can put some information here in terms of how were these impacts captured and measured. So as you said, sometimes you will do surveys with the participants that you trained. If you want to highlight something, for instance, that this activity was really good, so it was replicated or scaled up, I would suggest that you add that in the expected or achieved accomplishments of your activity. And that really highlights it very well for us to see that it was a best practice. There's also the opportunity, so this is at activity level. So if you've uploaded and are reporting under a public initiative, so similar to the ones that I showed before, then you can also report the impact at initiative level. And that gives you the opportunity to provide a little extra information on each of the type of impacts that you've done. But that requires for you to already have your initiative uploaded on the clearinghouse. So if you have that already, then you can also report using the impact of initiative section here. But otherwise, it comes at the end of any type of activity that you choose. It could also be that you did a knowledge resource or technical tool. You get the same option at the end to report the impact here. I hope that was clear. Otherwise, do let me know and I'm happy to clarify further. Oh, sorry. I accidentally muted you.
So that was great. And yeah, I need to actually check if our courses are on the platform as initiatives. I'm not sure. Maybe they have been uploaded by the NYFP Secretariat because some of them were developed in collaboration, but I have to check.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Sophie.
If they are uploaded there already, then let us know and we can add you as an author so you can report these type of things directly under them.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, sure.
And I think that's one thing that I also just want to clarify for everyone that are here, that if you already have an account on the SCP Clearinghouse, but for some reason this 10YFP reporting button that I showed you before, now I can't get to it, hold on. But for some reason the 10YFP reporting button that I showed before down here does not show up to you, write an email to Katie and we'll make sure it shows up. It's simply because you then haven't indicated your role in the 10YFP when you made your account, and we know that some people made their account a long time ago, so their role might have changed, but we can go in and do that for you. So you just simply send an email to Katie or to me and we'll do it and make sure that it's set up for you correctly. Do we have any other questions?
We've reached 4 o'clock, which is the same time. So in any case, you know, I'll be sharing her details, but also you can contact me if you have any further questions. Obviously, the presentation, and upload the recording of the training share and some key points for everybody to element. Maybe we want to give some quick guidance on how to prioritize for those of you who are concerned about the role. So maybe we can try to think through that, but otherwise, yeah, just let us know if you have any follow-up questions or comments. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much to Sophie for her very clear presentation. Apologies that I didn't introduce Amanda here, who is also working with the Secretariat, kindly helping to organize and take notes, and will help also sharing the information afterwards. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of your afternoon or your day, depending on where you're based.
And happy reporting. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. That was very informative. I'm sorry for being late.
Thank you, Maya. And thank you for your questions. It was very helpful.
Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you so much, Sophie. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.